This morning we can talk about democracy and governance in a salon. You know, salon I country we don't go to a lot, and we move from post-war. We don't get elections. We don't get a point to say even the opposition they win an election, then the ruling government they hand over to them. But how do we sustain that, and how we as a people can get conversation and discussions them around that as much as important for all the political players accountable. So this morning I get Abdul Fatoma, a very good friend of ours here, when the chief executive for CHRDI, and I also get Ambassador William Carew, when head of AU ECOSOCC Secretariat. Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yes, it is a pleasure having you. And we can talk about the multi-stakeholders dialogue, reimagining a just and resilient democracy in Sierra Leone. But first, Ambassador, I want we start with democracy, possibly a context of who say we don't come out as a nation, and who say we they presently, the resilience of and how we've been an example to some other country, even at the sub-region.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lamrana, and thank you for having us at the program this morning. Like you rightly said, democracy across the globe has its own challenges, of which Sierra Leone is not an exception to it. Some of the peculiarities in terms of challenges that Sierra Leone encounter, we've seen the same in many other countries. But one of the things which I personally think is the fact that we have demonstrated to a very large extent maturity, resilience, especially for a country that have gone through tremendous insecurities, wars, and many other things. So I feel that we have our challenges, but this is the challenges that require us to have what I will call an honest and frank conversation, a soul-searching kind of interrogation and conversation to look at what are some of the gains that we have made as a country, and how do we build on some of those gains. What are the challenges which are there? What can we do better? How do we try to improve on some of the challenges? Because it is a process. And looking at the outcome of the past elections, some of these pitfalls or challenges have actually been identified as a result of through the various mechanisms like the monetary observer missions and the like. And it has led to many other processes. So we as African Union coming in, especially from the civil society wing, is not to do anything in isolation. It's to build on existing conversation that has been going on. So we want to see how we can bring in on board relevant key stakeholders to see how we can have an honest and frank conversation. Let us ask ourselves the most difficult but necessary question: whether our democracy is working, and what are some of the challenges, and what can we do better?
You don't engage civil society na the continent. You know, Salon is no exception. You work with CHRDI and others as well. But waiting we don't get the conversation we don't get recently now the civic space. How we all know how civil society mobilization help we from the war, the protests against Foodies and Co. People and die. You had SLTU, Labour Congress, then student movement, then. But it seems like that is missing in we on democratic space. Everybody they blame the civil society, say people are partisan now, then they support this and they support this. How in we on context relevant and important the civil society be with the WOCO and the National ECOSOCC?
Democracy cannot thrive without the participation of citizens and civil society, the media, and all these other very many stakeholders. So the role of civil society is very fundamental. It is important that we have the space. It is important that we have access to information. It is important that the media also have the necessary conducive environment to operate. And especially for a country like Sierra Leone, where, like you rightly said, we saw the contribution of the civic space, of civil society, from the transition of war to peace and consolidation of democracy, the 50-50 movement, and many other institutions and organizations in Sierra Leone who played pivotal role in ensuring that we transition from the dark age to what we have today. So I think it's a major concern if the civic space is shrinking, because we can only have a better democracy, we can only have an accountable system, we can only have a participatory democracy when people have the opportunity to participate, to ask questions, and to interrogate some of the issues which they are not comfortable with. Until you are able to create that conducive environment where citizens feel free to say they can demand for accountability, they can hold you to be as accountable for issues pertaining to their development.
So one of the ECOSOCC mandates are for actively engage civil society.
Is to build strong partnership between government and civil society, but more fundamentally is providing a bridge between grassroots civil society organization and policymakers. So how do we contribute in terms of advising government on policy-related issues that pertains to the development of citizens themselves?
And in that case, in WIN context, I did at the meeting recently with the moral guarantors and civil society and the media, and one of the things that will come out now how civil society can get the interest them, but there should be that we may get civil society movement at this country some long time ago. Usai everybody they sit down and get one interest, within the push when at the country in interest. Is there any way ECOSOCC they help in coordinating that?
Oh yes, Oh yes, we have what we call the ECOSOCC National Chapter. The ECOSOCC National Chapter is an umbrella body of many civil society organizations within the specific country or context that work towards, one, popularizing the Africa Union Agenda 2063, which looked at issues related to democracy, governance, and many other development aspects. So one of our mandates is to build the institutional capacity of these platforms and these organizations, and then also work with relevant civil society organizations in various member states. So CHRDI being one of these organizations that we work with at country level, and many other civil society organizations in Sierra Leone. But fundamentally, like you rightly said, our responsibility is to ensure that we're able to organize this body, because the more they are fragmented, it becomes more difficult for them to be able to work in a much more structured and coordinated manner. So you need to be able to build this kind of a network that you'll be able to build capacity so that they play a complementary role and support government where there is need for them to support government, but then more fundamentally demand for accountability where there is need for them to demand for accountability.
Abdul, you can't talk about Sierra Leone democracy and peace without mentioning the sacrifice where people in the civic space make. It was civil society people who boldly march up to the residents of Fudesanko and say, no, this should end. It is students who come over a big college and with guns around Freetown and say, no, we are against this. The people died, but at this time now with civil society, you've been in the space consistently with different administration. How civil society in a salon they able to build that movement? Because as it is presently, it seems clearly fragmented.
The time way we been get civil society for the focus much more. Not one of the reasons because we collectively be one piece. Because by them, civil society or NGO terminology be very new globally in the early 90s. So one way for sure say countries then they try for build a stronger system for bringing democratic voice in the country. You be able to get the civil society movement where we get Teachers Union, Labour Congress, the Sierra Leone Bar Association, all of the other professional bodies that will be there in this country will specialize, be they part of the civil society movement. And the civil society movement being able to galvanize citizens' interests and put them before the government or neither the junta government, and they look into then concerns in there. And if they fail for look into them concerns, and they see a massive protest. So sometimes even where them they use gun against them, but the next other protest where them go call, citizens across this country go galvanize their freedom and ensure say that protest they go on. So like when President Kaba, when we reintroduced democracy in 1996, when President Kaba went for go on global trip them, we are very critical towards this country. It ensured that say two civil society people then the day inside that in delegation. And by them, they know they label then civil society delegates then they as a labeler or as a brown envelope civil society people them. So then civil society leader them like Zana Bangura, Charles Mambu, Festus Mina, Davison Kuyate, several others them way be there at the forefront. They mean they part of the delegations and so when them in the return, instead of government spokesmen them sit down at radio and television they talk, now be then civil society people them they can't explain about Sierra Leone position into that. And sincerity been there to some point. Some point then the way government go to a large delegation, then civil society or journalist leaders them also, because they also take from sludge as well sometimes. Then they also come and criticize some ministers and the way we travel will not be necessary. So but still government not been the drop say because we go to now will come when I can't criticize you on things there. But there are some bottleneck the ways really they actually find them very hard for negotiate the deal there. But civil society be the at the table. So government not go can say we try but will not be succeed. Now the civil society be the narrate the challenges where would they face. Either them bully we by way economic strength by them, like Nigeria for example. If we contest against Nigeria, the possibility that we they lost not because Nigeria population pass we, because the economy is stronger than we. Not that we're going to contest with South Africa. South Africa, advanced than we because of the economical power. So the money we then go give a lobbyist group for lobby before, we just feel say now an open election we they go on the context, not knowing that diplomatic lobby done behind the scenes to other member states they will get for vote. So if you then at the floor for do lobby, from Sierra Leone, you don't get nothing for offer to the other member state for let a vote, definitely will go on the ballot to get for loss. So all of them challenges then if some government people can't sit down they explain, the next man not even you want for no, because along the line when we move from 1996, we come when we sit down now for democracy proper, that then we erode trust between the people and government. And government administration after government administration between the APC and SLPP continue for ignore the signs and the concerns from people. Because within this country, you and I know, when Sludge used the yellow ribbon for Ebola, you see how much citizens have been listening to Sludge than the government platform we've been there for pass on the information for Ebola prevention. So that shows you that citizens have more trust a non-governmental platform for engagement on national issue than government platform. So then you come back to COVID. Some of we, UNICEF and the WHO in this country, talk to we for volunteer for be COVID ambassadors. And because of we've been used with Facebook platform then, they assure say the vaccine they work and the vaccine reliable and the best way for do this for wash we hand, we maintain social distancing. You see a lot of people comply and say, oh, if na Umar Fufana, oh, if na Abdul Fatoma, oh, if na Fabian, if na Lamrana, I get for listener. Right?
Trust.
And trust. Yes, so the trust. So the gap there very hugely. But government continue for ignore this sound, and out of laziness from politicians and throwing a shade that look, because of Lamrana Nafula and a western area Ibon, So a strong likelihood and possibility, they say, na APC they sympathize with. This na a lazy politician we go dey now at the ruling party go present this kind of narrative.
Yeah.
Then people that will not get the thinking, process, and then just accept.
Yeah.
And then he see you, he look at you on that perception because you not align with the political party. So he treat you on that same way. And the other one where they na the opposition because he believes say Abdul Fatoma get Fatoma name, a born a month,
Yeah.
na a southerner, a go bow school.
Yeah.
That is one thing. Because like even this with Oba, if he put you Oba jacket on,
You
put now you Facebook. Then go harass you life like they say, oh, now I make this not a be again because I don't go the same school. So even like you go any school where the president or most of the people that people just use that lazy mentality for attack you on that perception.
Yeah.
So then the politicians then buy into that and spread that. So then they miss the actual ingredient, and that's the reason why when they get political crisis internally. These same people that we are waiting the stigma or waiting the brand, now then they run to for rescue. Like we are the oxygen for them, we are the fire, brigade for them. They will come say, oh, Lamrana, one for Engage Truth Radio.
Yeah.
But there was a time they call and say this important thing they follow we talk.
Yeah.
Then they say, oh no, I don't get time. But when they get in crisis, that's the time that we need civil society.
Yeah.
And that's the time like me. They know say the turn invitation now. Yeah. I know get time.
But Fatoma, how do we build this at this time with this stakeholder engagements we una they get waiting na the whole way it go play for ensure say because the former vice president of the Gambia we were in another meeting there. She said she's from civil society before he come into politics, and what she said was civil society no go able to create an impact if everybody they work in isolation. You get national issues then where everybody for able to come together and say no, this is right, this is not right, and that go create an impact. This kind of meeting here, how will it help for able to achieve that?
It will help greatly. For example, now we mobilize all the stakeholders and the governance and democracy space, and we bring them into one room, listen from experience from one organization to other, and then we get people them where they come out from other African countries, we go then panels them, we go able for share experience, and for the local content we try to get with religious leader, we try to get with traditional leaders them, we try to get the legal profession, people them from the legal profession for can talk, about democracy, rule of law, and justice in the country, and we're learning from their experience. Then they help. Let me give you one. This now the third time this way with the organized program with AU ECOSOCC. Ahead of 2023 election, we'll be look at the fragility. So we'll bring in two programs as Leone, and when the other one we work with security stakeholders. And also the grassroots. We get market women, we get persons with disability, we get youth groups, and we go as far as attire base for get people them. So we create a dialogue within the security sector, the traditional leaders, religious leaders, and the citizens for see how democratic process and electioneering process, the security not for be a war. It will just be an assurance and confidence building process, and we be see how that contribute greatly towards the securitization of we election in 2023.
Okay.
Then this one we they also try for see because now as me and you they speak, many citizens, if not all of we, they ask a very hard and necessary question at this time: how will they govern ourselves?
Yeah.
Because we get the tripartite recommendations where every now and then it creates problem for we. Either one party will go into the process, say the other one not fair, the other one say the other. So counter allegation of fairness or no fairness. and then we get
even a day after the signing they disagree.
yes, and also misinform the content.
Yeah.
So when you look at the entire democratic process in this country, it's seriously challenging. Now, as we dey talk now this morning, we get two existing electoral system where we can use for we election. We either go use first past the post, it's legal, the day in law, we no remove it. We either go use the PR system. So we no agree since 2023 to 2022 to date. We're not able to agree it as which one we want for permanently stay with, or we just the one we fit we system. Either that this party they empower a favor first past the post, or this other party they empower favor PR system, then we have to drag into it. So it creates more confusion. You know, election they come, we don't even know.
Yeah.
So it creates confusion for even the political party themselves, more the economically challenged political party, as to how you they plan. If not PR election process you they plan towards, as to how media want for monitor the electioneering process. The media don't know how to put plans and budget together as to if not PR system you get for monitor or the first past the post. It also comes to civil society organizations that were involved in election observations. So like everybody, all the players they in a very mixed system. So we currently they ask a hard and necessary question as to how we govern ourselves. So like this multi-stakeholder dialogue, they're able to create that opportunity because we they hope for get the EMBs, the ONS, ECSL, and all the other stakeholders for actually update the citizens that we go attend this program, and the media will cover and how they will put the information and they out. And so this continue for build that resilience, and the corridor of trust in the process.
Ambassador Carew, we leaders them always go travel, go Addis, attend AU meeting, sign, charter and all of that, and we're a signatory to the Africa Charter on Democracy, Elections and Governance. But sometimes when you check back, even we civil society or we the people, the media, don't understand what it's there, what is in it, and sometimes even people them where they push policies and programs can just sign. We don't have maybe a way for evaluate and check how them thing and they will sign to they help with governance, policy and democracy. How this align with this multi-stakeholder meeting for look at how such a charter will sign to they help for shape with governance and democracy.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lamrana. Like you rightly said, the Africa Charter on Democracy, Election and Governance is one of the normative instruments, which set guidelines on how we can have better democratic space or democratic governance in our African member states. Sierra Leone signed in 2007. 2008. In fact, Sierra Leone is among the first 15 countries that signed for it to become into force, because you need 15 ratifications. So Sierra Leone signed in 2008 and ratified in 2009. So we are amongst the first 15 countries that actually sign and ratify for us to be able to bring that particular document or instrument into law. And like you rightly said, when you look at the charter, it is a yardstick to be able to measure democratic governance in every member state of the African Union. So it is not only a document for them to sign, but then if you have domesticated by ratifying that particular document, it means you are accountable to following the dictate of that particular document. And that is the reason why civil society gets a role to play. Every stakeholder gets a role to play. This particular charter, in an holistic manner, provide what I will call the key element of democracy or democratic governance. It look at rule of law, It looks at social justice. It looks at the consolidation of democracy. It looks about the independence of the judiciary. It talks about the conduct of regular, free, and fair election. It talks about how we should reject and totally condemn unconstitutional changes of government. So in an holistic manner, this particular charter provides the basis on how we can look at our democracy and ask ourselves that critical question which Fatoma is talking about. Is our democracy working? What are the challenges that we're having? Which gaps there will we don't identify? And then we're able to have this kind of multi-stakeholder dialogue to say, how do we provide a solution to some of these gaps? And because one important aspect of this particular charter is also to promote best practices that has been implemented in other countries. That is the reason why we're also bringing in other players from other countries to also share their perspective and the challenges that they are going through. But one important thing that we want to get out of it is for us to come up with new approaches, especially looking at the Generation Z,
The Gen Z.
and all those kind of things. How do we address some of the fundamental democratic challenges that we have? We've been talking for so long. We've been complaining for so long. We all know the problems. We know the challenges. We continue to speak politics. How do we find solutions which are sustainable? Solutions which can address these challenges that we are encountering. So we look at this multi-stakeholder dialogue as an opportunity. It's an all-inclusive platform. We bring everybody, like Fatoma rightly said, right from the grassroots, because democracy can only thrive when you have that environment where everybody have a role to play, everybody have a voice, and they can be able to play their own little part in contributing.
Which role, multi-stakeholder engagement like there were, or even, ECOSOCC could play for let the public understand, and people in the sector, the government, the opposition, the civil society, that democracy goes beyond just elections and voting. Because what we get right now, after 2023, I think on account the right team, we've got we don't get agreement for national unity. It's in disputes. We get the moral guarantors coming in and don't sign another agreement or recommendations. There's disagreement with it just a day after it. How do we see democracy just beyond politics and elections?
So if you look at the charter itself, the African Charter on Democracy, Election and Governance, you cannot talk about democracy and you look at elections only. And that is the reason why you have pre, during, and after election. The African Union, for instance, will always come in to do a pre-assessment to understand what are some of the potential triggers that you can take the necessary action to de-escalate in case the tensions are so high, so that you try to do what we call preventive democracy. How do you start to address some of this issue? Then, of course, during the elections, what are some of the observations which then go into the report of the elections? And then after the elections, you also follow up on the implementation of some of these key recommendations. Like you rightly said, democracy is not a one-off activity. It is a process. And that is the reason we are talking about the independence of relevant democratic institutions. Because the first thing is to be able to protect and promote the independence of the various arms of government. The judiciary has to be independent because the judiciary have a major role to play. If there is election dispute, who adjudicate? It is the judiciary. So there should be trust in the judiciary. There should be confidence in the judiciary. We should be able to protect the judiciary. And we should also know that when we feel aggrieved, we're supposed to channel our grievances to the judiciary, because they are the ones who have the competency to be able to adjudicate over whatever grievances. We also need to understand that people need to know, like you rightly said, and that is where the gaps are. People need to know. There is lack of information. For instance, the ACDEC is an instrument that not only civil society, government, and all other stakeholders, media, they all have a role to play in this particular instrument. Do you know the role that you have to play? This is the first question we need to ask. The citizens and the community need to know that they have a fundamental role. They have ownership, they have leadership to be able to hold the government accountable. They need to be able to have that understanding that if things are not going right, I have the right to ask questions, and I demand an answer. We need to know that they have rights to access of information. They need to know that civic participation is our right, because as ECOSOC, we have one other major responsibility, which is to bring the African Union closer to the people.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons why we are coming in, and we are also establishing our national chapter and building the institutional capacity of this national chapter, is for them to be able to popularize some of these instruments, so that you know as a citizen that the government of Sierra Leone has committed itself at the international stage that they will live up to the dictate and the principles and values that is enshrined in this particular charter. How do they now practically implement it beyond the ratification? Because we need to see it in practical terms, in terms of action. So we want to see that citizens have the necessary information way before election. We want to see that citizens have confidence in the judiciary. We want to see that the lawmakers are enacting laws that is in the best interest of the citizen, not laws that benefit the individuals who are the representative, but laws that is at the benefit of the Sierra Leonean citizen. So we need sensitization. An institution like CHRDI, the ECOSOCC National Chapter, which we are actually building in Sierra Leone, have that fundamental role to play, so that they're able to bring information at the continental level to the grassroots level, and then also have a feedback mechanism. So whilst we are here, what are some of the challenges? Remember, the AU is it work in an ecosystem. We will pick some of the concerns that will form part of our report. And when we return, we have various technical institutions. We now look and identify which institution have the competent authority to address the specific issues, and then we channel those issues. And then obviously the African Union will continue with its engagement with Sierra Leone through government, through civil society, through other sector, to see how we can contribute into the consolidation of democracy in the country.
Abdul, we there at a point to say we're having a reform of we electoral systems. Seemingly, the idea from the president now for address the challenges we don't get with elections. Legal reforms, in terms of processes and management and all of that, and the laws as well. But, at this time, I mentioned earlier, I think the timing of this is very important. How this multi-stakeholder engagement go inform or play a role in helping with waiting with the get right now, when at the reform with electoral processes ahead of 2028?
Well, what you go bring on the table now for the Sierra Leone government and the people of Sierra Leone respect the fundamental principles in governance and democracy. You asked a very brilliant question to Ambassador Carew about, waiting at the relevant for we country for the go now Addis and sign to, treaties and protocols, and when they return back home, the situation becomes different. So this kind about multi-stakeholder process, they help for open the citizens the knowledge, like you rightly say earlier, election not on one day, and one of the fundamental principles of democracy is accountability, and how citizens then go able for hold the duty bearers accountable. For example, the provisions the way they inside the treaty, if we say government for do a reform, and that reform therefore be inclusive and participatory, so citizens get a knowledge about that, then now they're able for hold the government accountable and urge them for respect the African chapter positions where we don't sign to and we don't domesticate. So if you don't know anything, you cannot say anything about it strongly in a convincing manner. So because of, this platform will explain exactly about, the importance of democracy, elections, and governance, it is able for broader the understanding of citizens about waiting salon for play, for make Africa a better place. Because if it's alone stable, other African country go stable. if Salone election reform process they in line with the democratic principle where African Union want for see in the member state them that they able for contribute, greatly not only to Salone economy and Salone peace, but the African stability.
Okay. The conversation with the dialogue, is it a broader perspective of we usai with democracy been the usai the presently and waiting with the look forward to waiting at the objective and the specific expected outcomes?
We get forget experience sharing from other countries. I mean, one thing about not we only they go through democratic shock. And you see, when I can bump into other African country, I get conversation with my other compatriot them with across the African continent. You share something about Sierra Leone, in as much as we the Sierra Leone, we bitter about Sierra Leone. But some experience they will share, they say, we are better off than we. Like Usai, maybe this not go put Ambassador Carew in trouble. In Zambia, Usai, where then they host the AU ECOSOCC. When I end in charge of African civil society, right? Activities bridge the gap between the African Union and the African president them with citizens and through civil society participation. If you want for register NGO there, all the board members then they go do fingerprint to the police. Because they say they use civil society platform for transforming to political party. So the government, in order for tap then kind of about it, and they now if you want for open civil society in Zambia, you get for go find all the board members, then they all they go do their fingerprint, then they profile them. Now the police. And after the police don't do background check of all the board members, and then police give clearance. Then at that clearance that you take, you go now to the ministry where they register NGO, and you cannot get a bank account. Where the people that way don't left the organization, only the chief executive and the finance person decide, but then board member then they be don't go, but then still they not the list. So then they trace, your account at the bank, and also trace your organization activities for the float. So with that, you see a decline in also of civil society. So when they ask you how will your registration processes then go,
and now
we tell them say we get multiple process. If you want set CBO, you just go na the city council then. You do the thing and then give you certificate. You go CAC or you go Moped and give you certificate. Then you are up and running. So they say, okay, we now look free. But then I tell them say the last time we protest is way back after 2007. We don't get legitimate protest for the whole government accountable. But we not go able for whole government they accountable. You talk to Kenyan citizens as well. So like when you talk about protest now and a theme of the past, but you see, we don't engage government. Like the security sector. We bring in solution. How we go end this one thing where they bring closing down on civic space. Because one thing where we always come out with closing down on civic space, now the free will where government or give for law protest. We don't so much, weaponize protest into conflict issue, where that not for be. So now, without doing much assessment, just because of bad experience previously, the police and now they tag them or the security sector in this country or some citizens and say, oh, when they protest, then go burn holes and go burn motor car, then go kill
the
people.
Safety and security.
But because of lack of assessment and also the security sector, they're not well equipped. So this all bring in the democratic things that we talk about. We need for really equipped with security sector for provide security for we. Look at when we change the campaign mode. Instead of then say let people then you been talk at come this morning when you been do the morning devotion opening, let people then not just they sing and dance. So before then they put big speakers inside truck, then go dance, drink, turn on at it. by the time then they reach stadium, say they want for talk. Some man before they reach,
They don't
stand there and then even don't talk, don't go. So, but in the still dance, they can't listen.
Yeah.
But the man where he can't for listen to, he don't talk, he don't go back to another campaign point. So then create now say, okay, when I not dance again, when I they go for free to when I go Atuga.
Yeah.
So I tell them say, if we not want for destroy Atuga for protest, we get government get land there.
Yeah.
Either at the mountain area or the peninsula, una create a space there for we. Una fence a whole perimeter there. If CHRDI want for advocate on justice issue, CHRDI put in notice out, and people that will believe in justice issue,
then go there.
and CHRDI invite the media, the media go turn up and listen to them key stakeholders the way CHRDI they call for let them talk against the bad practice related to justice issue, rule of law, governance, human rights issues. So then the media go do that. And then we get bloggers and then go stream them.
Yeah.
So based on that, nobody not go talk that this country say, government not give we the alafia for protest. Okay, you know what law scatter market. But create peaceful side for we. Who say we they go tin up and respect the public order act provisions them. Who say we not go naked we self because you know they not allow for naked we self for address the country.
Yeah.
But we go behave within the laws. And then if you give it 2 hours, 3 hours for the inside that facility, we ensure say we did it for 3 hours. If we not comply with the 3 hours, the next time we will apply, then you not give it.
Yeah.
So justification they say the other time when you be give CHRDI not work within the rules, they make you don't deny CHRDI. But then go say we know the right we faceless. We organization write letter. Say we want for protest against the Ministry of Higher and Technical Education for unlawfully dissolving the University Court of Sierra Leone. We say we want go before the ministry. Now they no more one gather. We hold placard for 1 hour. They no reply to a letter. When we put say tomorrow they come out to. Now the time they call we to meeting. They call we to meeting, they say they don't get security for we. I said, I'm not going to get security for we won't get security for the whole nation.
Ambassador, this is the situation. You know, the democratic space. Sometimes the politicians in power tend forget control over institutions and we for be independent. We for able allow organizations like CHRDI for come out and peacefully demonstrate and pass the message. We're a part of the democratic process as well. You know, how do we get other things working and not just waiting the people that we get power, where they dictate or where they control, now waiting them want for happen, especially where we decide to then teach them, where they commit with country say we go allow people them for demonstrate peacefully and be part of the democratic process.
I think there are fundamentals that we need for respect. One is the rule of law. We also need for respect the fact that there is separation of power. But more importantly, I think citizens need to be empowered. Citizens need for know their rights and the limits to their rights and how they can exercise their rights. In fact, that is the reason why, like Fatoma was saying, when we organize this series of events, we are not only looking at this multi-stakeholder dialogue, which will bring in almost everybody. We are also doing specific targeted kind of engagement. We want to go to the community, for instance. We are going to Brookfields and Congo Market community. What are some of the homegrown solutions, the traditional, the cultural values that can also help for influence change within our political space, within our democracy, within our governance? We're also going to Fawe College. We go to the university. That is why we have most of the Gen Z. What are some of the innovative ways, the alternative ways that you think we can be able to address some of these challenges then where we will go through? Because when you look at our society today, like you rightly said, we have, I mean, it's not only in Sierra Leone. I work for the last almost 2 decades in many African countries where we support processes. You have predating politicians who take advantage of the circumstances, and they will basically lead you to the direction where they want you to go. But the question is, you made commitment to say, I will respect the rule of law, I will ensure that there is human rights, no human rights violation. We will not get into corruption. We will fight corruption. All these things have been made as a commitment, like you rightly said. Now, the citizens need to be able to hold you accountable of that commitment that you have made at the end of the day. Because that is the only way democracy will thrive. If you don't want to be accountable, then don't be in governance. Because it's a two-way street. You need to be able to be accountable for the commitments that you have made. So I think citizens need to be empowered. Civil society need to have the space to be able to hold government accountable. Civil society need to be able to work in a much more structured and coordinated manner. Because one of the challenges we have as civil society in terms of demanding for accountability, we're extremely fragmented and we go the silo way. Because all of us want to kind of respond to our donor requirement or the person where they give you money. But the essence of having coalition, the essence of having network, the essence of having what we call the ECOSOCC National Chapter, which is a platform. You can be doing all what you are doing, but we can converge for a particular cause. To say we want to demand for accountability on issues related to gender. We want the gender scorecard. We want to see the gender dynamics. We want to see the percentage. All of us can converge, especially organizations, the way they work in the areas of gender, and demand from government in an holistic and comprehensive manner. Your voice is much more bigger than when one person will come. So I think we should avoid the competition also amongst ourselves as civil society organization. We should try to see how we work together, build on our comparative advantages. Uda gets strength. If CHRDI gets strength in human rights and governance and democracy, how do we work with CHRDI taking the lead without necessarily competing with CHRDI? So until our citizens and ourselves from the various sectors begin to understand our role, begin to understand how we can work with others and how we contribute together collectively for us to be able to address and achieve the result where we want. Until we do that, we will continue to have a challenge.
But how do we also break this, gap? It seems as at how the government, the political class, the leadership, they engage civil society, because it's important if civil society then gets concerned about certain things, somebody will say, okay, let's come and sit in dialogue. Not just somebody already they frame the civil society how they are and they're against government, always they oppose government, but that's thing of part of the democratic process of dialogue and engagement.
I think government need to see civil society as partners in development, in fact as complementary partner. And it's unfortunate when you look at most of the development activities that they take place now in every countries at the grassroots community level. These are undertaken by NGOs and civil society organizations. You don't normally receive praises. But when civil society go on the other side of activism or demanding for accountability, that is where you have a problem. So I think any government that wants to succeed should begin to see civil society as a complementary partner, as partners in development, because of the fundamental role where they play in complementing government effort. Even when you look at employment, how many jobs are being provided by government across the world? I mean, it's not only in Sierra Leone, everywhere. So you see private sector and other sectors also provide more of an employment opportunity. So if you begin to look at it from that perspective, then you begin to see that these are partners. And on the side of civil society, it's good for civil society to hold government accountable. But at the same time, when government do something way good, let we tap them and then back. Not to say we they praise them. To say you have done something well. So we appreciate it. Like I've seen in some radio programs when I follow up, of course I know they say hello for almost 2 decades, but when I follow, I see some organizations say, you have done well here. But let it don't be politicized. Let it be frank and honest evaluation of something that has been done, which is good. And then at the same time, be in that same position where you will be comfortable to say, no, this area you're not doing well. You have done something extremely bad. So the moment we're able to bring our conversation at that level of honesty, of being frank and open to each other, of looking at ways and means of addressing the challenges and profiling solution, until we get to that direction, that is when we will be able to change things. But politicians will always take advantage everywhere in the world. So citizens need to be empowered. Citizens need to get the information. Citizens need to understand these contextual dynamics and also understand that the more we come together to work as a team, then we'll be able to confront some of these challenges as a
Abdul, how do we improve on, the government seeing CSO or civil society as a complementary, wing where go hold them accountable, where they help them, and as well complement waiting and they do. How do we get that? That has been missing. I don't know when last one I sit down with government say, let's get a conversation. We know we have issues with elections and service delivery. Let's have a dialogue. Let we give our position. Let us tell we waiting on they do. How do we get that?
Before we get to that, I mean, Ambassador Carew talk about honesty, and if we are not truthful to ourselves, we will not get the right thing done. Currently, as within Leone, even among the civil society, just like the politician and the citizens, we get distrust issue. So we not get that one umbrella organization. We get influence for bring all the civil societies together, right? And say, government, we want. If it go be done, you go see suspicion there. Poverty and economic challenge don't undermine credibility in this country. Either now the civic space, you take it from the media, you take it from the civil society organizations. Apart from donor, which other revenue stream they for bigger civil society them for raise up to $10,000-15,000 for say at the assemble, my colleagues them across the country. For CAM, we can get a position paper. And after that position paper, we identify key civil society leaders in the country. We get respect, we get influence for let them engage government on we behalf. When the civil society movement them in the meet, Labour Congress, they put their ideology, SLTU, they put their ideology, Bar Association, they put their ideology, and then the civil society movement, they use that position paper for approach government. And then if the government fail for listen to them thing and they, what thing then they do? They know they keep among themselves. Then they return back to that body and inform them, say, the government say they know how to go do and this and this. So waiting at the way forward. Then they say, okay, now we don't see say there's a room for let us force them, for let them do what we want. So waiting with they say, let motor drivers union, where they part of the civil society movement, no drive motor car tomorrow. Let the teachers where they part of we union, we movement, not go to classroom then tomorrow. Let the Labour Congress tell other workforces, both in the private sector and public sector, say let nobody no go work. So the moment then at that meeting, a more way they among them will transmit that to the government. The government they send call the leadership again.
Yeah, for engage.
For engage.
Yeah.
So capital been there. That the movement not only advocacy civil society organization, there was service provider civil society led group, motor drivers union. And now we don't get an opportunity for let we were able for really say no to government, and government no say we mean no. Because now you look like Okada riders. When you look at the membership, now around 2 million and something. You look around Keke riders, where also they chase that 2 million. Then you go to motor drivers there now. Then you go Labour Congress. Then you get SLTU. You get a Federation of Employers. So all of them bodies and they now where the civic space for be able for capitalize. Because any one of these them institutions and they, if we agree say we want government for look into stable water and stable electricity, let them give we a timeline for let them do PPP. Now the world will advance. Not then like 30 years ago back. If you're not able for do something, do toll road. People go pay. You know, you go Kenya, you go Ghana, many African countries will not need for, come with Europe and America anymore. Where we come for development with PPP or BOT. You know, so we get investors globally now. We want to invest in things privatize water side, let them sell the water, give the citizens where they buy water. Water not a bad commodity.
Yeah.
Like commodity where they sell just like how fair they sell. So if we get private people there, but we not get that uniformity. I mean, we all get individual influence them and power based on neutrality and the kind of quality work way they do.
Yeah.
So apart from that way, you know, get government not dey listen. I go write letter to president on Secretariat issue. He asks the ministry where they deal with that for liaise and work with we for resolve the issue. The ministry call, we will tell and say, we don't complain to president about the bad thing where the people they are they go through. We don't want to be part of the committee, but if we need the people them, we go make them available since we and then be there at loggerhead. So we they serve as that interlocutor. We go bring them come. We keep putting pressure behind the scene, you know, on the issue today. Then they call, then they slap, then they smile, then they laugh. And you play a bigger role. I call you, you know, we talk on that. And you already been on get passion and interest in promoting that very cause. So you influence. CHRDI influence. You see how unity work.
Collaboration.
When we work collaboratively, look today.
It creates impact.
You know the kind of thing. We're happy that we compatriot in this country. They get the retirement benefit where they not be get hope for. The people that we don't die, the relatives and the survivors now go able for benefit. But when we work seamlessly without me and you, I not give you money, you don't give me money.
We use the platform there.
We use the platform there. So imagine if now we get a space as a civil society, we call SLAG, we call all the big, these other unions and what they call, we dey in one room. We pick one national agenda for Sierra Leone, and we demand that the government, the government they shut down. It is shut down.
Listen, people have
in a
done
civil
it,
manner. Without we not cost nobody, mama. Without we not threaten nobody, so the born house will they do this. We just make a demand. This country,
civil disobedience.
This country they shut down. But we don't lose that. And the irony is that why is it during the war, and when we just introduce multi-party democracy, we are so united. But after where we they consolidate democracy, we don't become so fragmented that even among ourselves, we're not able to assemble ourselves. Past large project, now they call civil society for can make statement. Past the bar association get AGM.
There is no common interest.
AGM.
It's about the resources.
One civil society voice for reflect. You know, on the AGM with itself. Civil society get donor funded program for stakeholders. Now that time they call motor drivers, market women. But outside of
national interest, we don't.
Outside of donor, why we not they assemble and really hit the ground and say, okay, we go brothers and at the media. We get the national credibility, international recognition, where we can able use them platform and say these are the voice of civil society.
I agree with you, Abdul. Like what we do with Tel, you know, you reach out, we collaborate and create an impact. After that, all publicity there around waiting the people and they go through. Their government commit for take some action and the work we don't they do behind the scene. But I want to ask, you mentioned something very important. It's much about the resources. And you see organization and they complain now. Money not there. You know, the one way they give the civil society money for implement project, they may not do. Nationally, you know, as the national chapter with the support of ECOSOCC, how could we, what do you think, this stakeholder, multi-stakeholder engagements, how could it help to revive, you know, what we don't miss? Because I'm sure, like you mentioned, they bring every other person at the table forget the dialogue.
You see, Ambassador Carew talk about the thing, like AU national chapters, and they're not actually the tap CHRDI for focus on governance, human rights, and rule of law. They not go tap, you know, other organizations like AMNET for focus on, you know, picking the rights, women's rights, you know, human trafficking project activities. But when they can at the national chapter, there's one thing they need for look into. that a national issue where they affect all Sierra Leoneans, even the very politicians themselves, and talk around that common issues and find solution. Because one thing, the AU organ are a political body. Just like when you get the UN agencies, you get institutions like UNDP. Most time people complain UNDP. UNDP cannot survive in this country if they not work through the government of Sierra Leone National Development Plan process. Likewise, if a AU or ECOWAS Kaya, they will never deviate from the government of Sierra Leone template. So, but some people think, say, because this is the AU, then they can't tell government of Sierra Leone that you go deceive yourself. They only work in government of Sierra Leone template. And we get to a point, I tell you about the poverty thing where they actually hamper civil society operation in Sierra Leone in particular. For example, if a politician, when a minister, with a interface with UNDP or World Bank and others, and then see say Truth Media or CHRDI, they do a national work, but for them, the donors then see that you sound credible. They monitor, we timeline them, they comment from citizens how they appreciate we services them. But then if the government official will belong to a political party, where they interface with them one and they on a daily basis that me and you too, say they one and then are anti-government. So you see that say a media capacity support where Truth Media for don't get, not only for training staff them, for no more how for report on social public policy issues or public interest issues, but also for capacity that you partners the way you they link with, where they do simulcast with, how they own coverage for be wider now their own locality because you they reach them. So then say for be wider, but then go get that benefit because they partner with you and you get the source. So how they go build that kind of capacity then the politician tell these development partners and say that one and they now anti-government people then.
Yeah.
We know one them. And you see a station will not get that credibility, or a civil society will not get that national credibility. You see them take that money they get and no impact will create at the end of the day. So what thing they happen? You there, some man say, Lamrana, how for the volunteer? Even a volunteer, I tell for Sidona House. After 2 weeks, you see the next morning not come. You try for inquire, or any of you staff there inquire why that man or that woman not come. It's in a transport I not get. Now I not get what they give me because then they see me they go out every day.
And say get
but
job.
mind you, now you can't say one for the volunteer. And he clearly knows say this organization not get money or the media not get money. So you don't lose somebody where you don't train, you don't invest in, how it will operate. And how this program for go before. So now you get another new person count the same entry story. Then you begin hesitate. How you for invest more time for train this person for help you produce program or report on program. So if money not there, you see that say you're not able to cover everything. But the citizens and demand because Truth Media reliable, Truth Media they talk the truth, therefore don't care. That's the pressure where you see the IB blog then they under. That's the pressure where you see say we all they under.
You
need so call and then maybe when you they get people expect you for let you report at the other side. But they don't even know that if the lights not there, how you the power and how you go get a better equipment for let we talk, let noise not there in the
if the resources
end,
not there.
If the resources not there for buy a quality, reliable equipment then. They don't care about that.
Ambassador, Abdul mentioned a very important side. We all see how donor funding they reduce globally, and for mobilized resources internally is somehow challenging, especially where everybody get their own interest. But from ECOSOCC, Usa Yusidom Addis, how they provide support to chapter, local chapter them, national chapter them for able mobilize and sustain the advocacy. Let not just be one of like with this multi-stakeholder dialogue they we see the publicity around them. But this able be a chapter we go get national interest, like you say, Okada rider, Keke riders, the media, SLTU, and they will push for a national agenda in strengthening democracy and good governance.
Yeah, as my brother Fatoma rightly said, the AU is a political institution. Regardless of that, the African Union Economic, Social and Cultural Council is more or less the civil society within the AU. Mm-hmm. So the same pushbacks and challenges that maybe civil society at country level is facing, mm-hmm. we are also facing the same within the African Union because of the nature of the composition of African Union ECOSOCC. It consists of social groups, professional bodies, chambers of commerce, media, academia, non-governmental organization, traditional leaders, religious leaders. So the constituency-based organization mm-hmm. itself that it consists of, mm-hmm. in itself pose a threat to policymakers because these are people who come with divergent views. These are people who come with views or issues that affect their constituency, their communities, and the people that they live with. And therefore, they need to bring these issues to the fold so that they're able to find solution to it. Mm-hmm. But one of the things, to respond to your question, if we are to succeed, especially in building what I will want to call constructive working relationship with government, then our umbrella body or civil society platform at country level need to be vibrant, need to devoid from politics, has to be objective, and then we need to have a shared values that all the constituency-based organization actually subscribe to. Because until you begin to see that we are all contributing towards a particular values and we are driven to a particular direction where we want to get results. So those institutions has to work. To respond to your question, we know that there is a major challenge. The African Union has not been given money. It's not a donor-driven money, donor-driven kind of an institution. In fact, we get money from member states, what we call access contribution. So every government contributes to the African Union for it to be able to carry out its operation. However, we just received the adoption of a framework which is called the National Chapter Framework, which will help the operationalization and implementation of activities of this national chapter. Okay. And one of the major challenge that framework look at is the aspect of resource. Because if you don't have the resources to give to these institutions, then the expectation that we have to say we want to bring the African Union closer to the people, who will go and bring the African Union if they don't have the money? So you need to be able to provide the necessary support and resources. So it's a work in progress. It's something that we are currently working on. We have even requested from the African Union member states to say we need some funding that this national chapter, it doesn't have to be a lot of money, but even money to convene, just a small meeting like Fatoma rightly say, to be able to identify what are the fundamental issues and then say, how do we confront this issue? Who are the stakeholders that we need to meet? It requires resources at country level. And then also from the AU point of view, if you said you want a people-centered and a people-driven African Union, then it means the constituency supposed to be able to provide feedback on issues that is affecting them, on how you can be able to make decision that pertains to the development of these people. So that feedback mechanism also requires resources. We cannot just sit in Addis Ababa or in Zambia and say, Fatoma, please send me information on the political situation in Sierra Leone. If Fatoma doesn't have fuel, like he rightly said, or there is no electricity, then it becomes a challenge. So we need to be able to do, to put mechanism in place on how we support these national chapters. So it's a work in progress. We have developed a framework. We are now moving into the operationalization of this framework. Once this framework are operationalized, these are some of the things that we'll actually look into. But lastly, we also have a mandate to see how we can support national platforms. So, for instance, I know when we were coming up, we have NGO platform. We used to have what they call the one for NGO was, is it Slango? We used to have Slango. Still around. Now, we have many of these institutions. So we have a responsibility to say these organizations, these umbrella bodies need to be vibrant. These umbrella bodies need to be able to coordinate national issues. This umbrella body should be a body that we interface with, especially when decisions are taken at the continental level. How do we cascade those information for dissemination and utilization and popularization at the constituency level? So let's take the ACDEC, for instance. We know that this was signed in 2008 by the government of Sierra Leone. It was ratified in 2009 by the government of Sierra Leone. Even when we do a check and balance on our democracy, do we make reference to this?
Yeah.
It's only few institutions like maybe CHRDI and few others who have an understanding.
Yeah.
Because it is a model that is developed by the African Union that 46 countries have signed and about 34 to 39
How
have
does it
ratified.
shape government policies as well and programs? Because they are signatories.
They're signatory. So how do we hold government accountable to say you've made commitment not only at the level of Sierra Leone, but even internationally.
Yeah.
And therefore you have a responsibility to be able to live up to that.
Yeah.
In fact, every country is supposed to provide reports on the implementation of the charter. So when we talk about corruption, how do we fight corruption in line with the Convention on preventing and combating corruption, the independent separation of power, the legislative arm? It's all inclusive. It's so holistic in its manner that it addresses human rights, social justice, social protection, all this. But if we don't have the knowledge about it, and if this platform that we are talking about don't even know that some of these things exist, then it becomes a challenge.
Yeah.
Lastly, most of our leaders, I'm not talking about Sierra Leone, I mean, when I move across the continent and go to some of the civil society organizations, you ask them about certain things that their government have committed to the at the international stage, either at ECOWAS or any of the regional economic communities or at the African Union or even at the UN, they don't know.
Yeah.
Because there is no deliberate effort to say, after we come back from those platform or convention or meetings, how do we bring those information back to the people? If we have a platform that is working, a platform that is vibrant, and like Fatoma rightly said, if when they are going for such meetings, and then you have representatives from the civil society, deliberately we are able to connect the dots, and some of these things become seamless.
Yeah.
But because of the disjointed approach and the isolated ways and means that we are doing things, it becomes a challenge. So our problems are scattered all over.
Yeah.
So bringing all these pieces together will take some time. But I want to assure you that one of the things we are working on is to build the Sierra Leone National Chapter to be more vibrant, but not only build the Sierra Leone National Chapter, because their mandate will have limitation. It will be more of popularization. It will be more of disseminating African Union programs and policies and instruments. But you will want a platform, also like the national platform, that will complement the effort of the national chapter so that we give civil society the actual platform for them to be able to engage and build that constructive working relationship between government.
Ambassador, I'm sure after this meeting you're going back, but what Sierra Leoneans expect, at the end of this multi-stakeholder engagement, the issues the more that they discuss, waiting they get for informed, and how we could influence with the implementation of the charter, knowledge sharing, and complementary efforts as well as civil society holding government accountable.
Like I said, the AU is an ecosystem. And my outfit is basically as a mandate to engage civil society, to popularize, to provide advice, and to have this kind of a dialogue. But we also have various technical competent institutions and technical arms and organs within the African Union. Remember, when we are doing this consultation, like I said, we have three various consultations. We are dealing with the youth through the Student Assembly at University of Sierra Leone. What will be the challenges that they will actually outline will form part of the report. We go to the community also. We go to Brookfields Congo Market community. We want to talk about peace. We want to talk to them about the utilization of this particular instrument and the popularization of this instrument. We also want to interface with them to understand what are some of the new ways you think we can do things, differ from the traditional things that we have been doing that is not giving us result. You'll be surprised to get something that will be mind-blowing, that will help to shape the direction of our democracy. So all this will form part of our report. And when we return back, what we do, we look at the various stakeholders within the African Union. Those that are dealing with elections, they were here during the election in 2003. Yeah. Some of the issues that come up, how far is the implementation? We will share that to them to say you need to be able to follow up, because that is our own role on some of the fundamental issues within the electoral system and the governance system in Sierra Leone. Those that has to deal with the young people, which technical institution within the African Union that we can share those reports with. And then we will have what we call an advocacy role to then now follow up on the practical implementation at the policy level to see how some of the recommendation and issues that have been identified by the constituency, by the civil society organization, on how our institution will take the necessary action for its practical implementation. Okay. So it's not going to be a kind of an event that we finish and then we go back.
Yeah.
In fact, that is the reason why if you read the concept note, this is a follow-up activity of the 2023 events that we had of a similar nature. So we will look at what progress has been made. We'll look at where the challenges are, what are the gaps, what have we done differently, what can we do differently, and who are some of the stakeholders that we need to bring on the fold to be able to address this. Okay. So this is what we will do, and then we will definitely have further engagement with the relevant stakeholders in the country to see how we track and monitor the implementation of some of the key actions that will be on our own responsibility, and then also follow up on the other key stakeholders in terms of what they're supposed to do.
Okay, thank you so much, Ambassador. Abdul, you lead the local chapter. You know, how is this going to happen? It's open to, I'm sure when I get the FBC event and you say the other one with Brookfields, yes. Is it open? People can come and attend?
Yes, like the student one, they're open to student them, either, you know, they for a college, or the fact that say, you're a student at Sierra Leone, and you can able for participate because it's quite important, and it help for make you feel involved with the African Union, where, you know, your country now a member. And then the one at Goofies, I think William no one for talk much about you know my way like football and they watch net football.
Yeah.
So William get attracted to the night football with them, but then they call which football.
Okay, yeah.
So when they play in a net, which league? So you know, it become around the other time in very community. You see them, but then they play. So you see how people they come from diverse angle. You know, they don't even care about politics. Always in and care about the community cohesion. You know, and the social rapport. So now able for convince the AU and others and for see as one method. You know, when you want for do certain things, they use different methods and way the locals and they use. So you want for talk to the young people then, for example, this not a cost of when we been grow up, you know, I grew up now Wellington. We see 7 o'clock don't pass, football not they play. But now if you see man and they put solar light, they play football at it. So meaning this generation get in your way how you want for adapt to things. So if you they see that net football they get the crowd, you can able for pass message at that time. And maybe when they sleep and wake, the information stay with them. So the Congo Market Buffets community, they try for get their communities and they forget involved into this and try from the local level let them understand this thing there where we government can go sign and ratify. We don't place obligation on them, but then sometimes pass then go the international conference from the ministries or the agencies that we're responsible and talk to themselves and then they return back. But the locals they don't actually know say the government be don't take an obligation. And in need for live up to that obligation. So when we begin explain this, maybe campaign time, when a question time reach, 1 or 2 young men there go ace their hand up and ask question related to this. So but now we don't able for empower that young man or that young woman or that community. So now one of the activities and then for social cohesion that going down when we talk about grassroots, not only for sit down a conference room we get AC. You know, like sometimes I can go na police and other side them. I go na the female correctional side and sit on the ground. You know, so the woman the way like and they try for take stories from them so that when we come out to go advocate, the other one sit there they say you wear this coat and tie, then they sit on back na ground. They call with I say yes. I mean I go meet you who say you did.
Yeah.
So I get for leave the kind life where you they live.
Yeah.
The fact that I say I go able for survive till the time I left.
Yeah.
So that make you feel comfortable, myself feel comfortable. So but when you only take advocacy to the AC rooms, then you get it you they get it wrong.
Yeah, we forget the people
You
and
know,
make it
we
matter.
forget the people the way you know
Oh, they advocate
Yeah.
for. But thank you so much, Abdul Fatoma and Ambassador William Carew. It has been an insightful conversation. Hopefully, we will talk after the engagement and look at the outcome and the possible impact of them. But thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. We'll take a quick commercial break. We can talk to our next guest, Honorable Marie. We in our studio already. They can look at the security bill we in our parliament. We then they look into. Continue for stay with you.